Welcome everybody. My name is Henrijn Heldens and I am your presenter for this session. In this April session, I present an explorative log study that took place in the Netherlands. This study was conducted in a small team of researchers. My colleagues Helma Olbecking from Cloud1 and also in this session, and also Quinta Kools and Anje Ros. This study, which I will present today, was performed by a Dutch consortium or network. Sorry. The name of this consortium is Sprong Voorwaarts, what might be translated as leap forward or jump forward. This consortium started a network that aims to be organized differently in a way that there is an eye for individuality and equality. Network partners are several universities of applied sciences, a Dutch university, and several school administrations in primary and secondary education. The network connects teachers, educators, researchers, school leaders in what we call knowledge labs. These knowledge labs collaborate and learn on future-oriented education in 4 domains. These domains are being different, referring to teachers or educators or school leaders' identities. Doing different, this domain refers to changes in behavior. The 3rd domain is organizing differently, which refers to changes in organizations to meet learners' demands and finding solutions for optimal organization of learning processes. And the 4th domain is leading differently, referring to changes from a leadership perspective, such as, for example, a shift towards shared or distributed leadership. As from September, recently, 6 knowledge labs have started to collaborate. Each knowledge lab consists of 8 to 12 participants and is facilitated by a trained professional. Each knowledge lab is collaborating on a topic that is related to one of these 4 domains. And as these knowledge labs are just recently started, we hope to be able to present the results of our study of these labs in the next EAPRIL conference in 2021. Let me take you back to March earlier this year. This consortium where I'm talking about, or network Sprong Voorwaarts, took off in the beginning of March, literally 2 weeks before what we called the intelligent lockdown in the Netherlands started. In our project team, we discussed the possible consequences of this lockdown for education, and we found therein an opportunity to study the consequences of distance learning overnight for future education. So really without much further preparation, because we wanted to seize the moment, we prepared and started an explorative study. And in the next few slides, I will tell you more about the outline and the results of this study. As a network, Sprong Voorwaarts, we wanted to explore possible implications from this overnight change to online education in primary, secondary, vocational education and teacher education. Implications of this development for the future of education. So the setup was a small-scale explorative study focusing on the 4 domains of our network: being different, doing different, organizing differently, and leading differently. For each of these domains, we developed a research question, and as an overall question, we asked ourselves, what can we learn from all this with regard to future education. So this study was small scale and explorative in nature. We used semi-structured logs based on a design from a previous study of colleague Helma Olbecking and colleagues. We asked each respondent to participate, and we used our own LinkedIn networks and the network of our partners in the consortium to approach possible respondents. And we asked them to describe in a log a concrete teaching or work situation and to describe the implications of this situation for doing, for being, organizing, and leading. And we also asked the respondents to reflect on this situation with regard to possible consequences for future education. We used Microsoft Forms for our data collection and as a means to fill in the logs. The data collection took place from the end of March, right after the start of the Dutch lockdown, until the end of April, so roughly 6 weeks data collection. As a research team, we searched the data in a qualitative way to find general themes. And we discussed these themes and we came to a few overall results and a few more specific results regarding these themes. In total, 24 respondents took part in the log study. So some of the overall results, more in general, as was to be expected, most of the respondents reported that they were involved in the transition from on-site or offline education to online teaching. And in the logs, we found a strong focus on questions regarding pedagogy of online teaching. For example, questions regarding the optimum length of an online session. Do online sessions have to be shorter, or can they take longer time than offline sessions, for example? Many respondents reported that they felt very much involved in teaching in this new situation. The preparation of lessons consumed more time, and also making preparations in the digital environment. And also, a fourth overall result was that many respondents reported that working at home with your own children, being at home as well, means for most of the respondents a new search for balancing work and private life. In the next few slides, I will highlight some of the more specific results we found in the logs. First of all, we searched for dominant themes, and we found 3 dominant themes in our data. Each of these themes showed a range of responses, and particularly this range of responses is of interest because it shows us the diversity among respondents in how they perceive working and teaching in this new sudden online context. So the first theme, relation, ranges from feelings of distance to the opposite, feelings of close proximity. In the next slide, I will give a few examples of quotes. The second theme that emerged from the logs was called collaboration. Respondents reported on the one hand, experiencing isolation because of the distance and the lack of live contact. On the other hand, respondents also reported that they valued the efficiency of the online meetings. Again, in the next slides, I will show some examples of quotes we found in the logs. And the third theme we found in the data was innovative power. Again, as in previous themes, we found 2 ends of a spectrum. in between feeling overloaded on the one hand, and experiencing room for experimentation on the other hand. In the next few slides, I will zoom in on these themes by showing you some examples of quotes we came across during our search. So back to our first theme, which was relation, in between distance and close proximity. Some respondents reported on their contact with students, parents and colleagues. For example, the first quote of a teacher educator who is not at all being happy being distant. This educator feels that his role is more distant, more businesslike, less focused on the relationship and much more on autonomy. On the other hand, however, the other side of the spectrum, we found quotes like the last one in this slide. This teacher, a secondary teacher, noticed that shy students that normally you don't hear in class are now asking questions. As a teacher, this secondary teacher says, I now have interaction with more students so that they too feel heard. And the same applied for a primary teacher who became more in contact with parents during the online period. So it's really two sides of a coin, you might say. Feeling distant, at the same time feeling the close proximity in other situations. In this same range we found in the second theme, we called collaboration, and where some respondents reported on feelings of isolations, whereas others reported on feelings of more higher efficiency. For example, the first quote, feelings of isolation due to the lack of informal contact with colleagues at the coffee machine or during lunchtime. And on the other hand, professionals experienced efficiency, for example, because online meetings work fine and cost less time and are very easy to schedule, as one of the primary teachers said. So also from professionals reported on the use of new tools, such as the use of WhatsApp for conversations with colleagues, and the use of more ways to communicate using online possibilities. So the third theme was about innovative power. Here we found feelings of uncertainty and overload, but at the same time, energy that is created by teaching differently in the usual more conservative team, as one of the respondents reported. Several professionals also reported on feeling fine to make mistakes, dare to make mistakes. So apparently, maybe possibly, the online situation provided professionals with some kind of courage and creativity. So these were some results of our explorative log study. In the Netherlands, primary and secondary schools were opened again as from June this year. However, still today, schools find themselves in a situation where some students cannot come to school because they are in quarantine. And as a research team, we are curious about the experiences in your countries. Do you recognize these results, or are your experiences different? In the next slide, we share some of our questions as a means to guide our further discussion. We are interested to share thoughts and ideas about the implications of this period of distance learning for future education. And of course, from the question, what can we learn from all that? We have approximately 15 minutes for our discussion. In this slide, we present a few questions. I will return to this slide. First of all, I would like to thank you for attending this session already. Before we go back to our discussion, maybe if you have any questions or you would like to contact one of the researchers, that is of course possible. So I show you our information. Thank you for your attendance in this session. Thank you.